Hello everyone and welcome back to the HCW UK Indie Review. Before we get started, I just wanted to say a massive thank you for Alton Thorne, for Fletch, for Malachi for allowing us to review all the shows this year, to preview all the shows this year. You may notice during this show that there's a lot of technical difficulties. Alton's Instagram throws on my side, he was fine on his side, I don't know what was going on at that point. You'll see cage match pop up, his screen will freeze again later on, you'll see web browsers. But that's what you expect from HCW or from me in jest. But yeah, thank you once again and enjoy the review. Bye. Hello everyone and welcome back to the HCW YouTube channel. My name is Rate Wrestle and we are once again back for another UK Indie review, and we are joined by the king of deathmatch Twitch, not Twitter, god damn it. Alton Thorne, how you doing?
All of them. All of them. I'm king of all of them. I'm alright, mate. How are you?
Yeah, we're living the best life. We've finally got to do this.
Yeah. It hasn't gone unnoticed how regularly you've taken little pot shots at me whenever you could.
It's fully deserved though.
To be fair, we should have recorded this like a month and a half ago, so it is my fault.
Yeah, but you know, you've had some interesting things happen, which we won't discuss, but they're weird things. So we are here to review Kumite Demolition, which was on August 20th. It is now out on IWTV, so this isn't going to be like a full-on in-depth review, because you should probably just go and watch it, because it was a banger of a show. So we will kick off with a triple threat. So Alfie was announced for this triple threat, and Harley Harris. But there was a debut, and it was a surprise for me because it was Harley Faith, who I used to train with at Kamikaze Pro. And she still looks like a monster herself.
Absolutely. I think the connection there was, I think Harley Harris has wrestled her a couple of times at Cov Pro, which is where Tomby does a lot of his family show wrestling. So I think they'd crossed paths a couple of times. And Fletch and Matt have been trying to look for women wrestlers who don't mind doing a more hardcore style, not necessarily deathmatch, but you know how Kumite matches are. They can devolve very quickly, right, into something else. So they were just looking for people who had an interest in working that kind of style, and Harley Faith is a very good fit for that kind of style. So yeah, it seemed like a good fit.
Very underrated. But it was good to see her. My notes don't help because two people are called Harley in this. So I've just written. So they were double teaming Harley, which was Harley Faith. So Alfie and Harley Harris were double teaming Faith. I'm going to go with at that point. And then, as you said, it just started to deteriorate. You thought it was just going to be a normal kind of triple threat match. No, Lego got involved. Obviously, Alfie had to pull something out of a Care Bear. If anyone's not seen Alfie, she's fantastic. She carries a Care Bear around, and there's always a weapon in the Care Bear. This time it was a fun tax, which was fun to see. It just became a bit brutal at that point, and Alfie did pick up the win with a spear, which is a surprise because Harley Faith's finisher is also a spear. So she ripped off the out of her book.
Yeah, I think they tied, they handcuffed Harley Harris to the top rope so that Alfie could get the win there. So, so Harley's strong. She didn't get beaten. Just to point that out for the sake of my tag team partner. But no, I thought for the last show of the year, everybody came in with a mentality of we've got to go out with a bang.
Yeah, definitely.
And you could tell from the first match that everybody had come in with that mentality. And I mean, Harley and Alfie had a really good hardcore match earlier. Was it earlier this year or potentially the end of last year? Might have been the first show of this year, maybe. But yeah, they already had chemistry. It was good. It was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. And I think, like you said, Alfie is a very, very original and different kind of person as a wrestler. You don't see many people with her kind of gimmick and the kind of oddness and the creepiness that comes with it. I'm a big fan. I like that.
And also, I might have to eat my own words. I think Harley Harris won the match. According to Cage Match, she won it.
Alfie won the match. I think Alfie won the match after handcuffing Harley to the top.
Okay, that makes me feel better because Cage Match's Harley Harris was won the match, so she's got a free win on Cage Match. That's good for her.
Sure, she'll take it. Sure, she'll take it.
And then we moved on to a very, very fun match, which was Jason Joshua versus, I believe it's debuting of Priscilla.
It was.
And the crowd just really loved this, and I really loved it because I got to use instead of Rainmaker, the Rain Slappers. Rainmaker Slap was the fantastic thing of it. Seeing this, there was Dick Slaps because why not? Then Priscilla broke her nail, wasn't happy, and then she hit Mark as well at that point, and it all ended in chaos. And Priscilla actually picked up the win. But my description of that doesn't do it justice. It is a very, very fun match to see.
If you really like watching people get slapped, then this is the match for you. If you absolutely love watching somebody get slapped for 10 minutes, this is the one. You gotta go watch this match. Because Priscilla will find a million different ways to slap you across the face. It's quite amusing to watch how many methods she comes up with to slap you across the face. So yeah, a lot of fun, and I dig the Q World Order thing, like the Queer World Order. See that selling T-shirts, the bastards.
Smart marketing. But yeah, no, it was a very fun match. Every time I've seen Jason Joshua at Kumite, I've loved every one of his matches. It's just a fun, entertaining guy to watch, and 100%. I've never seen Priscilla, so.
Well, Priscilla's been around a long time doing this at a high level, so it's good to have somebody of her standard at Kumite. And on top of that, she was really, really complimentary about one of my matches on Twitter about 6 months ago. So I'm, so she's clearly one of my favourites now. So yeah,
that's all it takes, is it?
All it takes, mate. All it takes. A couple of compliments, and I'm yours.
And then we start moving into towards the bit more of the violent stuff. So I'm going with my stuff because Cage Match have got this all wrong. I had up Tyler and Roughneck up next, but the Cage Match had the tag team match, which clearly it wasn't. So we had I believe it was Tyler versus Roughneck was up next. So this all deteriorated from the tag match where he Bam Bigelowed him. And you know what? I thought, this match will kick off. And then Roughneck went for the Bam Bigelow throw. And I thought, obviously they're not going to do it again. He'll reverse it. And no, he threw him again into a pole. It blew my mind. And then it was just absolute chaos from there. They were brawling through the crowd. Roughneck kicked someone with a crutch. There was chair shots. A burning hammer. There was a burning hammer in this match. And then he hit a swanton in. Owens picked up the win, which I was very surprised with. A swanton through a table to pick up the win. And that's a massive win for Tyler Owens.
And rightly so, because I think Tyler Owens is incredibly underrated. I think Tyler Owens is as good as Antonio. I just don't think Tyler Owens was immediately as convinced by the bloodshed.
Yeah.
So he kind of went, you go do your thing, and if it happens, it happens. But then he had that match with Antonio, and I think it triggered a little something. I don't think he's quite ready to tear his body apart.
No.
In the same way that Antonio clearly
he went
is.
fully in depth, didn't he, Antonio? Yeah.
But Tyler's got an abundance of talent. He's been doing this for about a decade as well. Like he's not the biggest guy in the world, and I think some people underestimate him based on, some people just have the metabolism where like you don't get much bigger. You burn that stuff off. And I think Tyler has that. But if you look at him and you judge him based on like his build, then you're completely missing the point. And that was proven against somebody like Roughneck, who is twice his size, I would say. Probably weighs him and a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like twice, like two of him and a little bit more, probably. So when you get to see Tyler face somebody like that, who's also a long-time veteran, 20 years in the business, clearly a lot stronger than him, you really see what he can do. And I'm hoping that this victory will kind of leapfrog him a little bit and get him slightly higher on a Kumite card, because I think he could be. So Kumite is not going anywhere anytime soon, and there's a lot of time to build these guys into something special. And I think he will be one of those guys that, when people like me who are 37 and our bodies are starting to feel it and my hip hurts every time I wrestle, when we all back off, it's going to be Tyler and Antonio and guys like that leading the charge.
Yeah. And it's a big win to pick up at the end of the season as well, because it's the thing everyone's going to remember, that he beat Roughneck.
Absolutely.
And Roughneck,
God,
remember that as well.
Somebody beat fucking Roughneck. Like, watching Roughneck get beaten is an absolute joy and a pleasure, so thank fuck for that.
Yeah, man, hopefully Roughneck doesn't bottle up all this anger for 7 months. And then we move on to debuting teams, technically. So you had a British top team, which is Brat Simtex and Lou Nixon, versus the powers that be, which is Brad Matthews and Franco Fate. So this started with a jump start from the Lou Nixon's team. Jumped them from the entrance, started waylaying with the chairs. They started working over Fate for the majority of the match. Fate then tried to kind of take everything back into his own hands. He was about to hit them with a weapon, and the ref disarmed him. Just disarmed him with a weapon, which I didn't expect at all. And then Franco Fate ended up losing when Semtex hit an F5, a very impressive F5, and Lou Nixon's team did pick up the win, the British top team. So that is a big win for them at the start, but it's kind of mired by them cheating at the start, technically.
Yeah, it's mired by that, and also, little known fact, because it hasn't really been mentioned anywhere, Brad Matthews wrestled that match with a very serious knee injury. He's getting hit. I think it's on Wednesday that he gets the results back from the hospital.
Okay.
But he could be out from 6 months to a year. It's potentially a torn ACL. Very serious and painful injury. And he knew he was injured going into the match, but he was excited to work for Kumite.
Yeah.
And excited to work against the people he was getting a chance to work against. So I think for a couple of weeks he rested the leg, didn't take any other bookings, did the Kumite match, and then went and got it looked at. And it turns out that he's got a very serious injury. Like I say, 6 months to a year. He wrestled with that, Like, that's probably why he did as little as he could at the start, but he still came out there and did the absolute best that he could. So I think Britain's top team will obviously be saying, we won the match. We, that Lou's beat Franco twice and all this kind of stuff now. And that is true. You look at, Cage Match is probably lying about it and telling you something completely different. But generally, you look at the results, it's going to say BTT got the win. But it doesn't tell the full story. It doesn't tell about the jump at the start. It doesn't tell about the fact that Brad could barely move his leg. Like, it is what it is, And I'm sure, I know for a fact that Brad Matthews will come back stronger because he's a fantastic wrestler. And I look forward to seeing where Franco and Lou go in the new year, because I get the impression that it's probably not quite done yet. Yeah. I think we're heading somewhere weaponsy at some point.
Surprising. But yeah, Franco probably has a grudge to bear now, especially after that match, because it wasn't a clean fight at the start. Getting jumps is never always going to be a...
And the first fight was so good as well, and you wanted to kind of see him square off again. So for him to just kind of cheaply... But that's what you got to expect from Lou Nixon at the moment. Yeah. He's a prick, and he's like...
Bit of a scoundrel. And then we move into the more darker side of Kumite. So we kicked off with a match that really surprised me how bloody and violent it got. Obviously Tomby was involved, so I shouldn't have expected it that much. But he was facing a debuting Merc. So anyone for myself, I might as well plug it now. I did an interview with Merc. It's on the channel. Go watch it. And he
good
said
interview as well.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And he did say that in the interview, he said he was going to scout Tomby, and I said, there's no point. There's no point trying to scout Tomby. But yeah, he kicked off pretty well.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
Tombi's one of the most unpredictable wrestlers in the world, I think. In the world. You don't know what he's got in his bag
If
of
he
tricks.
doesn't know what he's
he
doing.
Could turn up with anything.
But yeah, so Merck was actually quite in control for a start of it. He was shacking with a chair. Crutch came out again, and then gusset plate. Everyone loves a gusset plate. Right on the top of his head. Tombi's head. Blood, like flipping. Tombi knows how to bleed.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, Tombi bled everywhere.
Yeah. And then it kicked off into absolute shenanigans. There was tacks, needles. Merck is famous for like his big kicks, and he was kicking the crap out of Tombi at one point. Tombi then had like a fan favourite moment where he fired up, the crowd were right behind him, and then he just absolutely waylaid on the Merck, and eventually did pick up the win. But it was a brutal, fun match.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I didn't expect them to take it up to the level that they went up to, because on the run sheet it said a hardcore match.
Yeah, just hardcore, yeah.
And then it was a death match, wasn't it? It was a death match. By any definition, it was a death match. I think, obviously, they had really good chemistry, and they're kind of both... They're gimmicks of an ilk, like they're both loud, and they're both, they have similarities, but the differences are quite stark as well. So I thought it was a really good mix of two people. The problem that I've got with it is that Tombi won. And that's not a problem in and of itself. But what it does mean is that I think me and Tombi both have a very serious claim for the title. We've both beat an import of high caliber.
Yeah.
We've both wrestled like massive matches that have got like huge hits, like hundreds and thousands of hits online. We've both kind of, we're known as Kumite guys, right? We're known as guys that Kumite found and made. I think we've both got a call for being number one contender for the Death Wolf title, which probably means that we're going to get what we really want at some point, and I'm going to get to beat the piss out of Tombi and prove that I'm better than him. So we'll see what happens. But like next year, I've already told people I think it's my time to win, and Tombi's saying the same thing. So
it's a match we all want to see, though. That's why it's going to be a fantastic match if and when it does happen. And you're both on great runs, inside of Kumite and outside of Kumite, so it's prime moments.
I think it's fair to say that we're two of the up and comers in deathmatch that have really captured people's attention, and I think it's a good showcase of the guys that have just come through with Kumite to have me and Tombi tear each other to shreds, and we will.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I'd be very disappointed if there's not. Tombi's going to bleed. But yeah, we'll go on to a match which the first note I have in here, so it's Gonzalez versus Joe. Big fucking Joe for everyone. My first note I've got here is fuck me. And that's why Antonio Gonzalez was probably thinking halfway through this match. So it's just a description. There was light tubes, skewers, which ended up getting flinged into the crowd. Cigarette to the head, because that's a thing.
Yeah. I'm not sure that was a cigarette, but
no. Yeah, PJ.
It smelled more than a cigarette.
Water bottles, was a guitar, and then Antonio Gonzalez, on my interview with him on the YouTube channel, he said, "I've not had a strimmer. I'm looking forward to eventually, taking a strimmer." I don't know if Big Joe saw
he ate those words, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't think Big Joe saw it and went, "I'll give him a strimmer, all right." He hit him once, and I thought, "Oh, that'll be it." No, he hit him twice. 3, 4. Gonzalez at this point. It was just a massacre with a strimmer. He must have hit him like 8 or 9 times.
Yeah, because he pissed Joe off by hitting him in the balls with a strimmer. That's what happened. He put light tubes on Joe's balls and twice strimmed him in the balls. And Joe was hot. Joe was fucking hot. So when Joe starts coming at you with a strimmer, duck and cover. Like, there was no amount of wax on, wax off that was blocking that.
It was like that.
He came out of that match with like 7 or 8 big fucking marks on him. I was like, "Are you all right, mate?" Not sure he was.
He said after me, when I just didn't expect that many strimmer shots.
Don't hit a man in the balls with a strimmer, then.
That should be the first thing you should learn in wrestling school.
Well, it was the first thing I was taught.
South Park, don't fart on a man's balls. That's
yeah.
Good God. So yeah, a Rich Strimmer massacre at this point. There was an RKO because we get back to normality with an RKO. And then surprisingly, out of nowhere, after all of this assault, Antonio Gonzalez picked up a massive win against Big fucking Joe.
Huge win. That's a couple of big wins for Antonio. The only match he's lost this year, I think, is the title match. So he's still got to be amongst the big boys still as well at the moment, right? So that's all 3 of the Kumite guys that are potentially in line for a title shot. Maybe Antonio's a couple of steps below us, but you get because he lost the title match, so he's got to go down the ranks.
Back the queue, then go back up. Yeah,
but you beat Big fucking Joe, and you climb them pretty quick,
Especially with what's going on in the match.
What's more interesting to me is what's going on with Joe. He got a promo after the match that was it's unlike Joe. Like Joe's usually there's a lot of good energy from Joe, right? There's a lot of energy, but it's good energy. And at the moment, he's on a bit of a losing streak. Ever since he lost to Darko, he's been, he lost to Jack Bennett as well.
Yeah.
He's spiraling a little bit, and he just doesn't seem to. I said hello to him when he had turned up at the show, and he completely fucking blanked me, which I've never had from Joe before.
Wow.
And I think he's in a pretty dark place at the moment. And that will happen if you keep losing to Jack Bennett and Antonio Gonzalez when you're Big fucking Joe and you're the face of British Deathmatch.
Yeah.
So, and again, he was pinned. I know he's saying that the referees are shit and all that stuff because he's angry, but he was pinned. Jack pinned him. He kicked out too late. Antonio pinned him. I think he thought that the count was on 2 when it was on 3, and he just didn't kick out quick enough. He got beaten both of those matches.
He's on a losing path, which isn't great for Big Joe. But we will move on to a match that you're very familiar with. So it was yourself versus Cole Kingsley in a very big grudge match, I would be honest.
I told everybody what was going to happen. I told Kingsley that I was going to drag him into the deep waters super, super quick, and he was going to realise that this is not like anything he's ever experienced before. I think everybody saw that that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
There you go. He got I won't go into too much of the details of the match, but let's put it this way. I started as I meant to go on. As soon as he got in the ring, I was on him, and I didn't let up until the match finished. He got a cut from Harley Harris.
Yeah, he did.
Was brutal cut. He bled everywhere. But he was laying on the floor, probably thinking, "Oh my God, I'm bleeding." And there's me dragging him up to hit him with another light tube. I told you there's no hiding space. You got to keep going. I'm not stopping because you're bleeding. I'm coming at you if I see blood. That's like a trigger for me. I'm like, okay, we've started, so we'll finish. I commend Kingsley. It's hard to do what he did. First time death match. I remember doing mine. It wasn't that long ago, only a couple of years ago. Scary. You don't know what to expect. It's incredibly painful. It's a real challenge. It's a strange feeling to know that there's so much chaos going on around you and trying to be in control of yourself whilst you're hurting and whilst you're bleeding. And so I commend him. He gave it a fucking good go, but it's very hard to especially in Kumite, it's hard to step up to me in those kind of surroundings. I think anybody would find that to be a challenge, no matter who you are. That's my Gary J said it's my stomping ground. Clint Margera said it's my stomping ground. People accept that you come to Kumite, you got to come through me, right? So, fair play to anybody who will do their first death match against me because it's a tall order. And gave it a good go, but in the end, I beheaded him and got the win. So.
Yeah, a brutal beheading. My first note, so Gonzalez versus Joe, I had fuck me. Your first note, I had fucked. So it's really, absolutely like just chairs.
Good notes, these. Detailed notes that you take.
Oh no, it was the first note. It was the first note of the detailed notes. But yeah, the Harley Harris. Like, no one, if you would have put a bet on, you wouldn't have thought that Harley Harris is the person to make the first blood in that match. And it was brutal. If people check it out, it's instant as well. Like, it's as in it's pissing down from one shot to the head. There's Lego, there's force hammers involved, there's chairs, nettles, because glass Legos. The chair drop, the drop onto the chair was insane. And then obviously off with his head, which was the finishing. And Gingley, literally, when you hit him, he just slumped. It was like game over, as in like he was done.
Yeah. The power bomb onto the side of the chair was on over 200,000 hits on across social media now. A lot of people have seen that. And the reason a lot of people have seen it is because it's fucking horrible.
Yeah. Description match.
I didn't put the chair there though.
Kingsley should have just not have done what he did, and this would have never happened.
Exactly. That's the truth of the matter. He was trying to prove a point, and he tried to prove a point by taking out Harley Harris. And quite frankly, Harley Harris is one of the toughest people I've ever met. So even that in itself is a mistake. But as she showed, when she got involved in our match and cut him wide open. And you know, I think, look, I defy anybody to step up to me at Kumite at this point. I will take out anybody. It doesn't matter whether it's a rivalry. It doesn't matter whether you're over here for a couple of weeks. I will take out anybody, and that includes the champion. That's my goal for next year. Like, these rivalries, they haven't held me back, but they've stopped me being able to get to where I wanted to be, which is Death Wolf champion. I want to be Death Wolf champion now. And I haven't even had those opportunities because for the past few months, I've been chasing my tail, sorting out a dickhead, right? Well, that dickhead's sorted out now, so it's my time. I'm not going to... I swore on my life that when I got into deathmatch wrestling, I would be one of the best in the world within a few years. I told everybody that. I told anybody who would listen that. I don't think I'm a million miles off it. But to prove that I am, you've got to win one of the biggest titles in deathmatch independent wrestling. And I think one of those titles is the Death Wolf title. One of the biggest titles in England, one of the most important titles in England for hardcore wrestlers. I will be the Death Wolf next year. That's the game plan. That's the whole fucking thing. So, I enjoyed my match with Kingsley, but I'm glad to have kind of drawn a line under the feud so that I can start focusing on what I really want, which is to prove that I'm the best fucking deathmatch wrestler in the country, if not the fucking world.
Yeah, and you're going the right way about it, beating people like Gary J, just in general. Kumite is going to be fun next year, but we will top it off. With the, as you said, it can't be argued that the Death Wolf title is probably one of the most sought after titles in the world, I'd say, at the moment, especially with every match that's been for the title have been big matches. Like, there's not been like a throwaway match, they've all been big matches. Talking of big matches, we had the reigning champ Danny Darko versus Clint Margera, the OG of deathmatch wrestling in the UK. It was just absolutely chaotic, which you expect from a Danny Darko match, but then Clint is not normally chaotic. He's very, like, I can't think of the word now, as in, like, he's very methodical with his deathmatch wrestling.
Yeah, especially for a deathmatch wrestler, right? Like, he doesn't have that kind of whirlwind energy that a lot of us have got, like even me. Like, he's very
he knows what's going on.
Yeah, he's almost like a technical kind of deathmatch wrestler who thinks through what his steps are going to be, which is very different. Why he's one of the best, I think.
100%. not many notes on this because I was obviously clearly getting drunk at this point. So there was just chaos, the big moves. Doritos are involved because why? I don't know. That's all.
Because they're salty and they suck. They hurt like a motherfucker.
And then at the end of the day, Danny Darko did pick up the win, and he's ended the Kumite season as the reigning defending champion, which he fully deserves.
Yeah. I think Danny has excelled this year. Started to go abroad more and get big matches there. Winning a title over here. And beating somebody like Clint, that's the icing on the cake of a very, very good year for Danny Darko. The problem for him is that now he's got a bunch of very, very intense people chasing him. Chasing the championship is one thing, but when you've got me, Tomby, Antonio, Lou, all breathing down your neck, I think he will only partly be enjoying being champion because he's got a tough year ahead of him next year.
100%. And normally at this point we'd be discussing when the next show is, but sadly there's not another one this year, which everyone is insanely gutted about. Winter Kumite.
I will say this, and I'm not going to give out too much information. It's not my place.
Yeah.
However, part of the problem, as we all know, has been that Kumite works outside because they had trouble getting bars that would accept their style of wrestling because of the damages and because of the reputation. So they've worked outside. It's looking very likely that there will be an indoor venue in the very near future. And if there is an indoor venue, that means more dates through the year. Yep. So you heard it here first. Kumite, I think, there will be an expansion. Wrestling, things change on a dime. You never know for certain, but it's looking very, very positive. Especially when you consider that Vines have made a hell of a lot of fucking money off of these Kumite shows that they would never have made without them, right? Other bars in the area start to notice that and think, okay, that could be quite good for our end of year budget. And then they start changing their mind on what they will accept and what they won't accept in a bar. So look out next year. I think if this season's been the growth for Kumite in quality and in size and in audiences, it's only going to keep growing next year. It's only going to get bigger and better.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, my first Kumite this year was the first Kumite this year, and it's been a hell of a ride. We will obviously continue reviewing them when they get back up next year. But that's the end of the review. So as usual, like and subscribe. Go watch Alton's Twitch stream every Thursday night. It is 8 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock.
It is 8 o'clock, yeah.
And we're on Tournament of Death 5, it'll be now, will it?
It will, yeah. Tournament of Death 4 were just finished, and it was one of the best pay-per-views I think I've ever seen. Just like absolute chaos.
Yeah.
There was so much happening. I'm very grateful for the people that come in every week, and actually we get a lot of pop-ins as well. So our numbers are pretty good. We're doing okay. It's a very niche thing to be watching. Not everybody's going to pick up on it, but we're doing all right. So yeah, feel free to come join us next Thursday. Me and Fletch will be in the void. We'll be drinking. We'll be watching Tournament of Death 5 on IWTV. I'm sure you'll be there because you usually are.
Yep.
The group chat is the chat is always fun.
Yeah, you don't even need to watch the actual event to enjoy it, though. That's like the group chat. You don't even need to be watching the event to enjoy the group chat. I won't mention some of my remarks, but
you could just watch Fletch get more and more intoxicated as the night goes on. That'll be enough entertainment for you.
And there's always, every show you'll have to watch them, but there's always one trend each show. Not going to mention mine because Dalton's not a fan of it. But anyway, with that, thank you once again for coming on for reviews, and we'll have to get you back on when Kumite is back.
I'll be more than happy to. I was starting to worry that I was getting overexposed, but I just enjoy these shows a lot. So I'll be more than happy to come back on next year, mate.
Excellent. And that is a goodbye from me then, everyone.
Cheers. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.